Hey, this is Eric Shalley. I'm recording this video to kind of share some of the interesting things I've been working on lately in education. And over the past couple of days, I've been in Las Vegas presenting at the AP annual conference about a couple of different things that I do in my classroom, then also outside the classroom in the school setting. Uh, and so one of the parts of one of my presentations was something really personal to me. And it's also an idea that I think is really cool and something that basically anyone can do if they're in a school setting. And I think I'm going to kind of implore people, hey, you should consider this and think about trying to do this kind of project with your students and in your community. I'm going to shuffle through here. This is video someone took of me like giving my presentation. So, it's a big national conference. There's lots of cool ideas going back and forth. And this project I'm going to talk about right now is how I introduce. This is how I started this one of my sessions where I was talking about things you can do to help boost um, the culture and climate of kids pushing themselves on the academic side of things in the high school. Okay, so I'm going to shuffle on here. This is my first slide. Okay. And so, depending on who's watching this, I'm just going to start from the beginning here. This is a picture of the high school, one of the high school buildings in my hometown, which is Waukegan, Illinois, which is far north suburbs of Chicago. This is where I grew up. It's where I went to high school, yeah, and kind of in this building and in another building up there. If you're one of my Texas people, okay, in Texas, a lot of the schools are really new, okay, and but in Illinois and up in the Midwest, we got a lot of older school buildings, a lot of history, a lot of interesting things going on there. And so Waukegan High School, this building's been around for like 100 years. It's ancient. I remember when I was there, like we would go exploring in the hallways, doing things we weren't supposed to do. Like it's that kind of building. It's just a different setting than a lot of school buildings that we have in Texas, to be honest. And there's something really important in this building, and that's why I have this picture here. And you can see up on the walls, there's all these framed portraits, framed pictures of former athletes, and all of these athletes have won state titles or been a part of big teams that have done something really good, and you can see they're all up there. Let me show you a different picture. Same thing here. This is a hallway filled with just pictures of people. And obviously, I went to high school in this school, but I also was in the building a lot as a young kid because I would go to wrestling practice there and go to wrestling meets there and just kind of be in the hallways. And it is just a very concrete foundational memory for me walking through the hallways here as like an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid and seeing these pictures on the wall and just being like, these are the coolest people you can imagine. Okay. And like, wow, what did they do to get on this wall? How good were they? What did they, this is like such a cool thing. They really, I looked up to them as like heroes, even though I'm basically none of these people I ever met in person. Who knows? Many of them may have been dead by the time I was even seeing their faces. A lot of those pictures are old. Um, but they were heroes, and they were there up in the hallway. And Waukegan had historically one of the best wrestling programs in the history of the state of Illinois. And so they had a lot of wrestling pictures up there too. And me being a wrestler, I always looked at that. And so I have one of these pictures here, if you see that. And a lot of the pictures looked like this. They looked old school, all right? And I just remember seeing the pictures of the wrestlers. And a lot of times they had no shirt on and they just looked jacked, like superhuman He-Man superheroes. And it was just like, I don't know, they just that it was they were people that I looked up to, and I know I'm not the only one who felt like that, especially in the wrestling program. You kind of saw these pictures and were like, oh wow, those guys are like legends. But ultimately when you think about it, though, they're just high school kids. It's just a lot older, okay? And so I really grew up seeing these images, and it was really like implanted in my brain. And it's just something I had in the back of my head. It was something that I know I aspired to. You know, to get on the wall with these other people. And depending on how well you know me, uh, you may know this already, but I did not get on the wall. All right. So even though these were like a motivating factor for me, it really it didn't take effect. It didn't work necessarily when I was younger and actually in this building. But I think that actually speaks to the power of these images and this concept of putting a lot of times students and athletes up on the wall, because these images are still affecting me and still benefiting me literally over 30 years later. I still think about it and I'm still using this idea. Um, and so here that's some context, that's some background from my hometown of Waukegan. Okay, I'm gonna fast forward a long and winding journey after that, a lot of twists and turns and everything, and I'm gonna take it to last year. So this is the fall of 2025, and as a part of my work with teaching AP and working with the College Board, I was asked to participate in a roundtable discussion with a bunch of college admissions officers from across the state of Texas. This event was at Rice University. And so I was one of two representatives for the entire state of Texas, just representing teachers' perspectives on the value of AP courses. Okay, so pretty cool opportunity. They picked the right guy. I love my mission as a teacher. I'm a big believer in AP classes to help students move forward in their lives in a positive way. And so in the prep to get ready for this event, they sent me a bunch of questions beforehand. Okay, because when they're doing an event like this, you're doing like a panel discussion, they kind of want you to know what you're going to say so you sound better. That is a sensible thing to do. And so they sent me the questions beforehand. And two of the questions were here. It asked, what is the feedback from students on their way to completing their AP journey? And then how does it prepare them to go to college? And then the other question they asked was, when students you taught or you used to teach come back from college, what do they say about their AP experience? Because the goal of this panel discussion was to try to like just remind college admissions officers, hey, why is AP good? Okay, so I was thinking about this, and I've been really fortunate to teach a bunch of really awesome kids over the years. They've done great things with their lives in many different ways. And so I was sitting here thinking about, okay, what will I say for these answers? And then I was like, wait a second, why am I gonna I don't need to just like say the answers myself. I'll just ask the kids. And so I've maintained relationships with these kids over the past few years after they get out of high school. Just check in on them every once in a while, see how they're doing. And and so I sent them the questions. And then kind of slowly but surely, because they're all busy and they all got their different things going on, they answered me back with how did the AP classes in high school help them later on in their college journey. And I was reading through the answers, and they were just incredible. And I was like, man, I need to do something with these answers. Like these are too good to just sit on. And so my wheels started turning, and I had the answers, and like, okay, well, maybe we can do something else with this, and use these words to help like reach other people and get the message out. And so I'm going to show you a little like kind of a lesson in marketing in a way, and how you can do this and use the words from your students to like help benefit other people. So I took the words that the students said. So that kind of looks like this. And this takes like just a little bit of graphic design. This is not hard at all. But if you look at this, this is some words. These are answers from one of the students. Okay. And so of course you're not going to read all this right now. And I have the answers on the right hand side, and then I highlighted one of the sections of the text that I thought was particularly important on the left hand side. Now, if you just have these words, that's cool. That's a good thing. If students read that, they will get something out of it and it'll benefit them. All right. But let's take it a step further. All right. Because we're trying to reach students, and you got to find ways to relate to them and make them feel connection. So the next thing you do is you put a name on it. Okay. So this student, one of the students that I reached out to, her name is Camilla Silva. Okay, so we have a name. All right. So there's a way for the students when they see this, they're thinking um, they have they might feel more of a connection. Maybe there's some background things that might draw a connection to this person. Maybe it's a female student versus a male student. You're helping to personalize this and make it real for students. Okay. So now we're just using words. Let's take it a step further and let's throw the picture on there too. Okay. So now we have a real person with a real name, with some real words, and you're starting to see how you can help to use these to reach other people, to reach the next generation of kids. Okay. And then one more step further, because let's be honest, when we're talking about kids who are doing advanced classes and they're in high school and they have big dreams, a lot of times the name and the words will bring them so far when it comes to connection. But if you put on here University of Chicago, Bachelor's of Science in Astrophysics, class of 2025, now we're like, oh, it's even more reason to think about this person's words and listen to her. Okay, even if the student has never met this person in their lives, you can start to see the connection. And so this is the kind of thing that schools need to be doing on the academic side uh, of their buildings. All right, and this is my question to people, and sort of my uh, you know big idea is, how come when we put up posters or images of our athletes, no one thinks twice about it? The big time volleyball team, the football star, the track star, we put their images up, we celebrate them. No one thinks twice. That's what you're supposed to do in a school. But when we think about putting academic achievement up on the wall and celebrating individuals, a lot of times people recoil from that. They're like, I don't know, I don't want to, bother anyone or make anyone feel bad or whatever. It's like, why? We need to put the more positive influences, the more positive models we can have for students coming up, the better. Okay? Because you don't know who you're reaching with these images, why you're reaching them, and also when you're reaching them. All right? Like, is it going to happen today, or is it going to happen 10, 15, 20 years down the road? You don't know, but if you don't put those images up with these positive messages, you're not going to reach those kids in that same way. So I did this. I created these images, these posters, for several different kids. Okay, so you can see these are all answering the same questions. It's all the same format. So once you have the format created, it's actually pretty easy to just sub in the new text and the new pictures. And these are all former students of mine who have gone on after high school to do really cool things. Um, and so you're seeing there are all these messages, words, and then images of the people. Okay. Um, and having these images is just, it's a very, very important way, very, very effective way to get kids to relate with these individuals and listen to what they're saying and benefit from that. Okay. So I made all these images, all right, last year, and then I printed them out. Okay. It doesn't cost much to print them out. You go on the website, any printing website, they're like $4 or $5 a piece, and make a nice copy. They send it to you in like a week. Super easy, low budget, not hard to do. Okay. And then I put them up on the wall. Okay. This is just a little glimpse of my classroom. And you have them there. This is not something that, you are making a big part of your day. They're just there. Because the fact is, in school, there's downtime here or there, and kids see these things and they're drawn to it. Okay, so my last slide I'm going to show you is here. And so I've strategically put those posters right near the door of my classroom. Now, I use the time in my classroom. I teach pretty hard. We're not the kind of place where you're like lining up by the door by the bell. But as students get done with class, they all have to walk by those signs. And I'll tell you, after having it up for a whole school year, those signs and those messages on those posters have reached hundreds of students literally. Okay, because they're sitting there and reading it, and they're seeing the message, and they're like, oh wow, that's cool, interesting, that's what they have to say. um, and there's another thing that's happening there, okay, that is the kind of the crux of all this. You see these two students, they're looking at those posters. They're sophomores in high school. They're very intelligent kids. They're awesome, all right, and they're on track to be going to the colleges that these kids went to, and they take AP classes and they do all kinds of great things in the classroom. And they're thinking about the messages that they're talking about with like getting into college. But you know what else they're thinking about? They're thinking about being on that wall. They want to do whatever it takes, achieve in their lives to be like, hey, I mean, wouldn't it be cool if one day I was on the wall and I was impacting other kids? These students want to do that. And we have to make goals for them to try to achieve. You have to make it real. You have to put it out there. Um, and so it's just, to me, when I look at this project in the way of like how you can use your students' experience and your students' words to help benefit the next generation, it's a no-brainer. We all, if you're in a school, you have kids that are awesome. You have kids that have gone on from your school and done awesome things. Use their experience to help the kids that you have in the building right now. They need help, and they need guidance, and they need motivation. Here's the thing, these two students, they're out of my class now. They've moved on to the next grade. Well, guess what? My posters are still there. Uh, I have a whole new set of 100 kids coming in a couple weeks for the new school year. They're going to be benefited from this too. And these students who are on the wall, some of them are still in college. Some of them are already graduated and moved on with their careers. Think about the achievements that they made maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. They are benefiting new students now. And of course, like, I sent them pictures of it, and guess what? They're proud. They're happy to help. And this is just an environment, a culture you can create in your school, that I think is really important, and that everyone should try to figure out a way to do this. And it'll look different in every school building, but it's something that you can do, and it makes a big difference. So thanks for listening. And it all, a lot of it came from those hallways in Waukegan High School. And so don't forget about that too, because you never know where your little motivation or inspiration is going to come from, and then when you're going to use it.